Hello friends! Today we're going to talk about the American dream and what it really costs. I made a video recently called The American Dream and Why I Gave It Up, where I talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and how a lot of us can't acquire these things under this oppressive system. And so some people pushed back on the ideas, which is totally fine, but most of you resonated with what I said. And so reading the comments, rewatching the video, it really made me think about the cost of the American dream, the true cost of the American dream. Because it doesn't just stop at numbers and debt, right? It goes beyond that. It takes your time, your energy, your resources. And I've come up with a list of 10 things that chasing the American dream has cost me. And in this journey, I'm going to try to acquire these things back, to get these things back for myself. And I hope that you will do the same. And maybe you resonate with something that I say. I would love to hear about it. Please leave a comment below because I love dialoguing with you all about this stuff. But it's been really expensive chasing the American dream and really unfulfilling. So the first thing that the American dream has cost me is self-worth and value. I felt like I had to be constantly creating, constantly doing, constantly making money, constantly striving in order to matter. Because in this world system, the only people who are really celebrated are people who are 30 under 30 list, or the people who are millionaires or billionaires, right? And so these are people who are extraordinary. Ordinary people for me don't get celebrated. I felt like if I wasn't doing, then I wasn't worth anything. I felt like I had to earn my rest, earn my leisure, earn my downtime. And in that time, I stressed myself out. And I also looked down on myself because I was looking at myself through capitalistic lenses that said, hey, if you're not working, you don't matter. If you're not making money, you don't matter. And so my self-worth and value plummeted heavily. And you can see it in society, right? We rush to hit the next milestone. We don't celebrate the things that we've already done. We don't celebrate the things that we already have. We're always on to the next thing. We celebrate busyness over intention. Nothing we do is intentional. And especially as Black people, we try to avoid the label as lazy, which was really given to us during the, emancipation period where they're like, oh, you don't want to work for free anymore, so you're lazy. So we've been running from this label for so long. And I made a song about this, how you're not lazy, you're just tired. So you can check it out here if you want to. But either way, I felt like I was lazy. I felt like I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. Hi, friends. Okay, so I'm editing the video and I realized I forgot a part. I'm talking about losing my self-worth and value. It didn't even come down necessarily to just productivity, but also desirability and how that comes into play, based on what women are marketed, in mainstream media, like in music or on shows, that kind of thing. And so because I didn't measure up or look like these other women who were marketed to me or the beauty that was marketed to me, I felt like I had no self-worth. So I thought that was important to include. And a lot of us still carry that weight with us. The question I was asking myself, if I'm not getting a degree, if I'm not getting a new job, if I'm not on the 30 under 30 list, right? If I'm not a billionaire, then what worth and value do I have? The second thing that chasing the American dream cost me was present or being present, the presence, right? The ability to be here, to be totally present, to be grateful, to be thankful, to soak up everything this moment has. Under this American dream or capitalistic societies, we are always on the go. We are always rushing to go nowhere, rushing to be successful. Like we're never able to really stop and smell the roses. And you see it in everyday life. You drive down 95 or whatever highway is near you, and people are rushing. People are cussing people out because they feel like their time is more important than other people's. They're not considering being kind or courteous. They're not considering the fact that maybe someone is older or maybe someone is not experienced or maybe somebody just doesn't want to drive fast. It is an inconvenience for them for other people to go slow around them, and they're not able to be present. And they're not able to be present with themselves, to know what they really want, but also for other people, to be of service to them, to be loving to them, kind to them. It's all about moving on to the next thing. And that takes me to the third thing that I gave up chasing the American dream, and that is contentment. There is no room for contentment with the American dream. Everything is about more, acquiring more, being more, becoming more, right? Achieving more, striving for more. There's never a time where you can just sit and rest and be. And if you are sitting and content in where you are, they'll label you as lazy or label you as someone who has no vision or no drive, when really you're just content with what you have. We're told constantly to acquire more house, more car, more yard, right? A fancier phone. And even with ourselves, like the beauty industries, be more beautiful, be more like this, be thinner, be more beautiful. And there's never enough. Like it's always about consuming. And the whole point of this is because we are being advertised to put money into something because we feel like we're not enough. We feel like once we get the car, then we'll be respected. We think that once we are beautiful in European standards, then I'll be respected, then I'll be loved and adored and admired. But the truth is there's never enough. There's always gonna be a reason for them to sell you something. There's always gonna be a reason why you did not meet the mark. And instead of trying to meet that mark, I've opted out of the game altogether. And the truth is, we think that once we get these things, then we'll be satisfied. It'll be enough. Once I get this thing, it'll be enough. Once I get this promotion, it'll be enough. Once I get this car, I'm going to be great. But the truth is, we know, just like kids, when you give them a toy, they play with it for about a couple of days. And then after that, it's in the pile of all the other toys, right? It's not special anymore. And the same thing happens with us. We acquire these things and we're like, oh my gosh, this new phone is amazing. And then we're like, oh my God, we have to go get another phone, right? We're not content with what we have. And when they are selling us stuff, right? They're not selling us the object. They're selling us what we want to feel. So buy makeup so you feel beautiful, so you feel enough. Buy this car so you feel respected. You can look down on other people while you're driving next to them, you know? Get this promotion so that you'll be respected among your friends. But the truth is that you were worthy all along. And if you knew that, then these things wouldn't be so sexy to you, so appealing to you. You would be content with what you have and who you are in this moment. And if you get more, wonderful, but that has no bearing on who you are and the value that you hold as a person. You are sacred, you are holy, you are worthy. And to that, we need to determine what enough is for ourselves, not what people tell us that we should want, not people telling us what benchmarks to hit, none of that. We need to know who we are, what we like, and determine what is enough for us. And that brings me to my next point. The fourth thing that the American dream cost me was kindness to myself. I was unable to be kind and caring and gracious to myself because I was looking at myself as a product, as something that wasn't working, right? Like my computer is acting up, so I'm frustrated with it. I'm not a computer, I'm a human being with feelings and emotions and wants and desires, and I'm holy and sacred. I am not a machine, but this country treats us like a machine. And so we feel like we can't be kind to ourselves, or we can only be kind to ourselves when we do X, Y, and Z. I can rest when I get this done. I can go on vacation, once I get all this work done. I can clock out of work once I get this done. That's how we're treated. And so in turn, from the workspace, we take that mindset and apply it to our everyday lives. It took me 9 years to get my college degree, and I was so hard on myself. So hard that when I graduated, I wasn't even able to celebrate myself like I really should have. I was so bogged down by the fact that I was comparing myself to other people. Other people had PhDs by then. There's no reason to celebrate an undergrad degree. And so I was not able to really be present with myself, to be happy with what I've done. But who made these rules? Who said that I had to graduate college in 4 years? Who made that rule? Because it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's a lot of money as well. And beyond the question of who made these rules, the real question is, why do we buy into them? Once we know the work that actually goes into it, then we can take our time. Once we know how the sausage is made, we don't have to eat that sausage no more. And so I'm giving myself more time to be kind to myself and gracious, be okay with being patient with myself, taking my time, pacing myself. But there's no room for that when you're under the capitalistic society of America and chasing the American dream. It's about hitting things when they're supposed to be hit, not in your time. Under the American dream, I constantly compare myself to other people, constantly. How much money does this person have? How many followers does this person have? Does that make this person more worthy than me? Are they better than me? Just very silly things. We don't look at people like they are holy, sacred human beings. I'm going to keep coming back to that because that is literally erased when we're chasing the American dream. The sanctity of life, right? The love for other people, the love for self. It's all about production. It's all about, being something for someone else. It's all about seeing yourself as a cash cow instead of a person and a human being. Success should be determined by you and you only. I made a video about this because a lot of people are like, I'm not a successful artist, help me. I'm like, you are successful if you determine what success looks like for you. For you, it might be just having peace and being safe and being stable. It has nothing to do with you getting, $100,000 at the end of the week, or you having a yacht, or like a Lamborghini or whatever else people are acquiring these days. You can set your own definition of success, and that counts and that matters. But yeah, the whole point is, under this, I never felt good enough. I never felt good enough. And once I got too good enough, there was always more to acquire, always more to attain. I was never good enough chasing the American dream. Chasing the American dream made me feel like I had to earn love and earn respect and suffer in order to receive love, right? But I wrote this note to myself that says, I deserve love without suffering. And that means love for self as well. I can be kind to myself and not have to suffer just to see myself as worthy. And I think of myself before I entered the school system, and I was infinite. I was just filled with love and everything is possible, and I was just so happy. And then you get into school and you learn very quickly that everything is not sunshine and rainbows, that you do have to compete, that you do have to, look at the person to your left and to your right and figure out if you measure up against them, right? The people with the great grades got on, the blackboard in the front of the classroom, and you were sitting there like, oh, well, I guess I'm not smart. I guess I'm not good enough, right? There's always this air of competition in these schools, and we take that with us in our everyday lives because they're training us to go out into the world and compete. And I don't want to compete with anyone. I want to be okay with just being myself and going my own pace in my own way and that being enough. But there's no room for that in the American dream. And all of that introduced anxiety and scarcity. Like there can only be one person doing this and there can only be one person doing that. And I just always felt like I was like measuring up to somebody. I always felt like I was performing. And I don't want to take that mindset with me in my everyday life because it is not helpful. Something else I gave up chasing the American dream was my dream. I gave up a lot of dreams for a long time because I felt like it didn't fit in this frame of the American dream, right? I wanted to be an artist ever since I was a kid, but I was told that, oh, well, you don't make a lot of money being an artist, so you can't be that. Or you can't be that like this, right? If you're gonna be an artist, you have to be a Beyonce, you have to be a Rihanna, you have to be somebody famous to matter, as opposed to just doing art my own way. Now, I understand that because a lot of people are just trying to survive and they get it. They don't want to see you struggling. But I put that in my back pocket and was always in the back of my head like, oh, you can't be an artist because no money, no resources, you're going to be poor, you're going to be stranded, all these other things. I also didn't have the phenotype to fit whatever woman they were marketing, right? So I don't look like a Beyonce. I don't look like a Rihanna. I look like an Alicia, and that is enough, but I didn't know that at the time. And so I just gave up on the idea. I gave up on the project. I was like, let me just get this good job and get this degree and get to work. And, maybe I can sing on the side. Maybe I can take pictures on the side. And then I got the degree and got the job and realized, girl, ain't no money in this either. It's all a risk. Had I put more effort and time to building my dream, I could have figured out how to make money and make it in a sustainable way and not in a way that beats me to death like my job does. A lot of us are forfeiting our dreams for someday, whatever day that is, right? There's a saying that I like and it says, there are 7 days in a week and it's not Sunday. You can start your dream today. You can do it in a small way that honors you and doesn't stress you out. Like if you want to sing, join a choir. If you want to sing in the shower, right? If you want to sing and put videos up on YouTube, whatever works for you, but you don't have to forfeit your dreams in pursuit of the American dream. A lot of people think that once you get the American dream or get access to it, that somehow all the worries and stuff go away. They don't. They think that it's a safer way to make money. It's not. A lot of people lost their job, especially over the pandemic. And I've seen this again in 2009 when I had just entered college. A lot of people lost a lot during the recession and they realized that their jobs weren't as stable as they thought it was. And so if it's risky to pursue both, why not pursue the thing that brings you joy, that makes you come alive, that energizes you? The sixth thing that the American dream took from me was time and years. We work from 16 to 70 in hopes to get retirement or Social Security. We hope to be able to be healthy enough to enjoy our lives. We hope to be able to travel the world or whatever dream. We put off our dreams until we retire. And that is not promised. That is not promised that you'll get there. It's not promised that you will get retirement. It's not promised that your Social Security will be able to sustain your life. And so if these systems don't work for us, then we need to create another system for ourselves that works for ourselves. A lot of people, and I've been following them, have either been hacking life and living life on their own terms, where they either work 6 months of the year and that's enough for them, but you have to determine what's enough, right? You have to be content. Determine what's enough for them, work that, make that money, live for 6 years. So they're partially retired for 6 months out of the year. And so I don't want to waste any more time, any more years trying to chase this thing that was never promised to me in the first place. All right, the seventh thing that it cost me was connection. And if you see me glancing down, it's because I have notes. I want to keep on track. The sad thing about capitalism is that it makes us see people as products or a come up or a machine or something to make money, right? We measure people's worth not based on their personality or, their morals or, these things. We base people's worth based on what they can do for us. It's a very selfish mentality that we've adopted, but it makes sense because literally, like I said, they look at their people, the Americas look at their people like products, ways to make money off of them. And so people don't look at people for, divine connection or deep connection anymore. They look at people like a come up. Everything is a networking event. Everything is about who you know, right? It's about who you know and, being in the right rooms and all these people. And so many people get pushed aside because they don't fit our narrative of what it means to be successful because they have nothing to offer us. Maybe not in the business world, but they have wisdom, they have experience, they have joy. Some people are just fun to hang out with. And that is enough reason to prioritize these people. But beyond all that, whatever they do for you, they are sacred and holy human beings. The American dream has put this filter on our eyes to filter out people who are a nuisance versus people who are resourceful and helpful to us. And it's time that we really reverse that. Like even with Black communities, right? You have like Black, excellence Twitter and, Rock Nation brunch Twitter, Black professional spaces, people who think that they are a better Black than these other people. And they have these, these meetings and these get-togethers, and nothing is necessarily inherently wrong with that. But I think that sometimes we can become elitist to other people because we feel like they have nothing to offer us. Oh, you work blue collar. You can't hang with me. You can't sit with us. Like that kind of mentality. And that is literally the mentality that people use to justify oppressing us. And now we're doing the same thing to other people. And so chasing the American dream really took that away from me, took the ability for me to be present in the moment with people who are genuine and kind and loving away from me, because I felt like I had to be on to the next thing. And that's another thing. When we're pursuing the American dream, we miss our kids' soccer games. We miss the moments that matter in life. We miss those connections because we feel like I'm making this money for you. But what they really want is you. They want you to be present. They want that connection with you. Not the things you bring, but you. And I talked about this in a previous video about ageism in America, about how I'm not afraid of aging anymore, but I came to the conclusion that the reason why I was afraid of aging before is because I was afraid of how society was gonna look at me. And so talking about how, the American system looks at people as products, once you become old and worn out, then you're of no use to me anymore. You're of no value. Because this is so prevalent in our community, people who might have different abilities or people who we don't think are on our level, we see them as burdens instead of gifts, instead of people we should serve and help come up with us. It's all about using those people to stand on. This idea of pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, it does not exist. It's not real. The only way that you can come up off of somebody else is by stepping on them, standing on them. And that's what constantly happens. There's no connecting. There's no raising together. It's about, I'm going to push you down so I can make it. The 8th thing that chasing the American dream cost me was my health. When I was 16, I had 3 jobs. 3. I had a full-time job and 2 part-times. I was running off of energy drink, 5-hour energies, Monster energy drink, and like sugar. And looking back on it, I'm just like, oh my God, that is horrifying. But at the time, I thought that's what chasing the American dream required. I thought that I had to give all this energy, all this time to become successful. And in turn, I got really sick. I got really burnt out. That was the first time I ever experienced burnout. And for what? I don't know where that money is right now. I have no idea. Could not tell you. But I know that I was working myself to the bone. I was so exhausted. And looking back on that, I think about my pop-pop who worked multiple jobs to take care of his family, who, gave so much of himself. I think about my grandmother who literally worked up until she passed away, and how she was working her entire life for a promise that was never fulfilled. And I refuse to do that now. I'm not going to wait for someone to take care of me. And I honor my ancestors doing that because they took care of their family. They did what they had to do. They had to hustle because they had no choice. But now with all of my privilege, I don't have to do that. I don't have to hustle and grind to thrive. I can pursue my own version of success, and it doesn't have to include wearing myself thin. While working at a hospital once, I was suffering with depression, mental health issues. I was suffering with physical ailments. I had IBS that was inflamed. I had back issues. I literally woke up from my sleep in tears because I was in such pain. And that was because of the job I was working. I was stressed out. I had to file for FMLA so they couldn't fire me for calling out. I had to do all these things. And I realized, why don't I just let the job go? Instead of doing all of this stuff, taking all this medication, why don't I just let the thing that is irritating me go? And thank God I was in a place where I could have. And so what also happened was, after I left that job, years after me leaving, I was still in chiropractic sessions. I was still in PT. And so just think if I stayed in that job for 30 plus years, how worn down my body, my spirit, my mind would have been. At the end of the day, the paycheck was just not worth it. And I understand that everybody is not in a place to be able to do that, but I'm so grateful that I was able to do that because it was just not giving what it was supposed to give. And even talking about jobs and sickness, a lot of us don't have time to be sick. When I had that same job, I had to earn sick days. My sick days and my PTO days were the same. So whenever I did get sick, then I would have no time to actually rest and recover on vacation. Because when you're sick, you're not resting, you're healing. And so I had no time to rest and recover on vacation because I had no days. Literally in this system, they make you earn your rest, earn your leisure, and even earn your healing. And that's crazy. The 9th thing that chasing the American dream cost me was time. Time. We don't think about the time that it costs to upkeep the things that we want. We want a bigger house, but we don't consider how long it's going to take us to clean it, to maintain it, to fix it when the roof caves in, right? When it floods. We had a friend whose whole foundation of their home cracked, literally cracked. And I can't even imagine how much money that is. But we want these things because we think that is success, but we don't count the cost. We don't count the cost of what it takes to maintain that thing. A lot of us are just sitting on things that we think is the sign of wealth and success without really thinking about the mental drain it's taking on us. When I see people driving with a fancy car, I be like, how are y'all out here? Because I would be stressed, okay? I wouldn't want nobody to hit it. Just all that mental activity and work and like, please don't hit my fancy car. It's not worth it for me. Like, I want a car where if you ding it, I'm not gonna be mad. But driving, you're not only driving and putting energy into driving safely, but also into people not nicking it or not touching it or a cart not hitting it. It's too much work for me. And so maybe for you that is success, but for me, if it costs a lot of time and mental energy, maintaining it and anxiety, it's too expensive. It's too expensive for me. Before you buy the thing, consider the maintenance of that thing and the emotional and mental drain it's gonna have on you. And of course, the 10th thing that the American dream has cost me is literally debt, money, and stress. So I was told to go to college, get a good government job, retire, right? It didn't really work out that way. All I have to show for this degree is debt. My degree was actually in deaf studies, like ASL, American Sign Language, and a lot of the jobs that I was qualified for were very entry level. They're very service provider focused. And so a lot of service positions, like the helper positions, don't make a lot of money. People who work in social work don't make a lot of money. And this is broad strokes. I'm sure it might be different in different places, but in the DMV area, they were not trying to pay me nothing, okay? And so I was struggling with this financial burden because I'm like, yo, I took out all this money in hopes that I was gonna get paid at the end of this promise. And the promise was not fulfilled. And so that has been such a burden in my life that has prevented me from doing the things I want to do. They call me, they harass me. And even when I was paying it, at some point, it's not enough. They want you to pay $2,000, right? And then interest acquires. And it's just like, when am I ever gonna get out of this hole? And so now I have all this debt. It's a trap. It's a trap. And I have some information I want to share with you, and I'm going to provide the cited information below if you're interested in that, if you don't believe me. But please take my word from it. I'm reading straight from the computer. So y'all ready? Here we go. 1970, the average debt was $1,070, okay? Adjusted for inflation, $7,000, $7,458, okay? $7,458. In 2021, the average student loan debt is $31,000. $31,000. It's actually 100 more, but I'm just gonna say $31,000. So again, you could check out this link below. It's a trap. It's a trap. Student debt keeps us working and acquiring and working to pay down the debt. And so it's like shackles. It's like shackles because we can't be free because we have to pay back this loan. They want us to keep working. So they're shackling us to our student loan debt. This number is hanging heavily over our head. And in order to get it from out under there, we have to keep paying down our loans. But surprise, surprise, the system is wicked, and most of the money that we pay doesn't go towards the actual balance, but towards the interest, so that Sally Mae and them can make some money. I have some strong feelings about Sally Mae and Navient. Let's talk about literal debt and money. This is a consuming culture. Everything is about consumption. We don't really produce a lot of things. It's really about consuming. And so I have theories, right? I have theories, I have ideas. Of course, these aren't facts. But I know for myself and my own experiences, sometimes I buy things because I really want to experience something else. For example, I bought a magazine the other day about meditation and peace because I want peace, right? Instead of doing the work of trying to acquire peace, let me get this magazine so that it can teach me how to be peaceful instead of just like taking away things that are triggering my anxiety. It's easier to buy things than it is to do the actual hard work. When we buy something, a lot of times we aren't really trying to buy that thing, but what that symbolizes, right? What that symbolizes or represents to us. So some people buy a notebook because they want a fresh start. We're overwhelmed with the upkeep of one thing, so we buy just a duplicate of that same thing. We consume so much, and a lot of that is because of unfulfillment and unhappiness. And there are also people who buy things because this is the only joy that they'll have. They don't have time to go out of the country. They don't have time to, or the resources to do those things, but they do have the resources to go buy, a new bag, a new outfit, little things like that. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with treating yourself, but sometimes we use buying things to soothe some sort of wound, soothe or fill a hole where something is lacking or missing. I know I do anyway. But also, have you seen the prices of things these days? It's very expensive. It's very expensive. People are barely holding it together. And yet buying a new car is like $30,000. Who got that sitting around? And so because we don't have that disposable income, we have to leverage debt to buy these things. And so we're in this perpetual trap. It's a cycle. Then we have to buy another car because maybe it breaks down. Maybe it's a lemon, like the car I have. Maybe it's, something wrong with it, or we feel like we need a new car to be looked at as more successful. Whatever the reason is, it's this recurring cycle of being entrapped in debt. People are literally living from paycheck to paycheck. People are struggling out here, and people are using debt and credit cards to just survive. So there's so many different reasons why people are in debt, why people consume, but all of that is because of the capitalistic society that we live in that thrives off of some people making it and not everybody. One thing I also want to note here is the racial and gender differences in payment. So not only is the American dream hard to acquire, but it's not a fair game. So I have more notes, and again, it'll be cited below if you want to check me out, because I'm not making this up, I promise. There are wage gaps. Wage gap exists, right? And so wage gaps are set based on what white men in America make, okay? So for every dollar that white men in America make, Black men make 87 cents. White women make 79 cents. Black women, 63 cents to every dollar that a white man makes in America. So we're not even playing the same game. And yet we are judging ourselves so harshly on the system that was not created for us in the first place. And there are so many reasons to opt out, but this was my number one. There's no way that I can be on the same page as a white man in America, even though y'all think everything is all peaches and cream and equal now, and play the same game hoping for the same outcome. And then we also have to talk about the responsibility that a lot of Black people feel once they've made it to take care of their other people. So their family, their friends, the people who are still struggling. That's why you'll see a lot of people who are like in the NFL or the NBA, they'll go broke because the money they made, they're giving it to their friends, not squandering it, but taking care of them and their needs. This even happens with people who get degrees. In the 70s, right? There was a study done, and I can't remember the study exactly, but it said that a lot of Black women are struggling because we don't have generational wealth. So people who were getting the degrees and getting the jobs, they're paying for their own things, but they're also giving money to their sisters or their brothers who may not have gone to college or gotten a job, or paying for their grandmothers or their mothers, taking care of the people in their community. That's huge to Black folks. And so because of that, because of our generosity, we've missed out on a lot. And it's not our fault. It is because the system has been rigged against us since day one. I know that hard work does not always pay off. It hardly ever pays off, especially if you're a Black person, Black woman in America. The game is different. We're playing two totally different games. They are literally laps around us, and we're just catching up. And instead of putting all this energy and time into trying to acquire wealth their way, which has been exploiting other people, or trying to reach their mark of enoughness, I'm opting out of the American dream. I'm opting out. I'm not playing this game. It's not healthy. It's not beneficial. And it leaves me tired and exhausted. The American dream costs way more than I'm willing to pay. And I'm out. I'm out. I'm out of it. I'm not playing this game anymore, at the risk of being called, all types of names like lazy or communist or whatever you want to call me. That's fine. I'm still going to have my peace, and I'm still going to make my decision. I'm not opting to play their game when it wasn't meant for me to play it in the first place. And morally, I don't see myself doing what they had to do to acquire their wealth. So I ask you, what has the American dream cost you? What have you missed out on? What are the things you're trying to cultivate back? What are you trying to heal from? I would love to hear all about it. Please leave a comment below. If you like this video, then you'll like this video on why I don't think hustle culture is for Black women. And I will talk to you all next time. Bye.